of the future of Tanzania. I hope you guys are all excited to learn. Today, we're going to start going over something called graphics, which David Chung, teacher, was going to go more into depth about. So I hope you guys are excited to learn. And we will all check your homework and such. So if everyone is ready, let's get started. And yeah, so once again, hi, and I'm going to pass it on to uh, David, teacher, who's going to go over graphics today. Until then, today's goodbye, and hope you guys are excited to learn.
Hi everyone, so I'm gonna go over graphics. So this is basically kind of like the visual stuff. And today we're going to make a music. Alright, can you guys see my screen? So the first thing that we can do before we actually dive into coding itself is we need to download a few things. So the first thing is we have to set up something called a virtual machine, not virtual machine, a virtual environment. So what this is kind of like a virtual computer inside of your computer. So it's not like a physical computer, but it's like its own little thing. So basically, it'll kind of keep your computer safe. When you download these packages, it won't affect anything else in your computer. To set up a virtual environment, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open something called a terminal. I think it's called something different on Windows. It should look something like this. It might be like command prompt or something. And you're going to have to open it, and you're going to have to navigate to your to the file that you're using. So, for example, I'm going to do all my coding for today in this folder. So it'll be in the FOT folder. I need to navigate to this folder using the terminal. I can do this by just writing CD, and then I'm going to click
David,
on this and then just
can you
drop it in
just
here.
zoom in? It's really small for everyone. Just
I'm so
zoom in a
sorry.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. I'm sorry, guys. Here, I'll kind of restart. So you guys need to open if you're on a Mac, a terminal. Um, if you're on Windows, I forgot what it's called. It's called I think it's also called a terminal command prompts or PowerShell. So open this, and then you need to navigate to the file that you're using. So you're going to have to write CD, which means change directory, and then just you can open like your file explorer on the side and just drag it in, and you should have something similar to this. Can you repeat? Yeah. So you're going to open if you're on a Mac, it's called a terminal. If you're on a Windows device, I think it's called a command prompt. You're going to initially, when you open it, it should look something like this. Obviously, the names and everything will be different. You're going to write CD, which is just a command for change directory, and you need to navigate to where you're doing like your coding, like your file. So if you go to like your file explorer, it looks something like this. It might be different. It might look something like this. And you have the different files. So I'm gonna go here, click on the file I'm using, and then I'm gonna drag it in here. If the dragging doesn't work, you can just navigate through using like the dash, like the standard way. This might be something kind of unfamiliar to you guys, but it's something you will need to use in the future. So I'll have the questions and answers chat open in case you guys have any questions. If you press enter, it should take you to this folder, so I can see that I'm in the FOT folder, which is the folder I'm using, and it'll kind of show right here next to it. The next thing you need to do is we need to create the environment itself. So the command for that is Python. We're going to write -m vn, which means virtual environment, and then we're going to name our virtual environment. So I'm going to call it, let's see, Future of Tanzania Environment 2, because I think I already have one. If I press enter, it's going to create a virtual environment for me. After I create it, I also need to activate it so I can use it right now, right? So to do this, there's a specific code. It depends for each. Can I zoom in? Yes. should look something like this. I can. So basically, you want to go to your directory and then you write Python-m virtual environment. And you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to go with FOT environment 2. So if you guys want to just follow along with me, you guys can do the same thing. For the next step, you need to. It's different for each computer. So depending on what it says at the top. So for me, I'm a Mac, but I think if you're here, I will drop it into the chat. It doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Let me know if there's a problem with it. I'll wait for a second. Here, I'll zoom in a lot more. Here, I can redo this again so you guys, in case you, so I'm gonna clear this so in case you guys are confused. So you're going to type CD inside of your terminal or command prompt for Windows. You're going to find your file explorer, open it, and then select the file, the folder that you're going to be using to put all of like your code in for today. If you don't have a folder, you can make one. I think you just like right click and then you press new folder. Name that folder, make sure it's highlighted, and you can click it and drag it into the command prompt. I can't zoom this one in. And then it should add it in here, like some random lines. Once you have that in, you can just press enter, and it should take you to a directory, and it should add something like future of Tanzania, which is the folder I'm in. So if you guys are stuck, you're gonna press type CD and then drag your folder in. It should add it here, and once you're done with that, you can press enter. So I'm guessing everyone is up to here. The next thing we're going to do is inside of this folder, we're going to create our environment. To do that, we're going to write Python and then -m vn, which is the virtual environment, and then we're going to name our virtual environment. So let's call it Future of Tanzania Environment 2. Once you have that typed out, you can press enter, and it shouldn't really say anything. As long as you don't get any errors, it means that you created a new virtual environment called FOTN2 or whatever, or something else if you name it something different. Please leave a message in the questions and answer channel if you have any questions. I see that someone's typing, so I'll wait for a little bit. Something is wrong. Mm, Make sure you type in Python dash M and then v and FO2NV. Here, I'll show you. So you can probably just copy and paste this in. So it'll be like this, two. There you go. I'm guessing that worked. For the next command, this is the last command that you'll need to do in terms of setting up your virtual environment, but it does depend on the computer you're running. So here is a table. So I'm guessing for most of you guys on Windows, you just need to look under the one that says cmd.exe. That should work. If yours says PowerShell somewhere, then you would have to use the one that says PowerShell under the Windows. You can ignore the ones for POSIX if you're not using if you are using Windows. But basically, what you're going to do, or at least what I'm going to do, because I am on a Mac, is I'm going to write source and then where it says env, that's just the name of the environment. So I'm going to use FOT environment 2, which is the environment I just created in the line right above. Then I'm going to write /bin/activate. This will depend, this will slightly change based on what computer you're using. So if you're on Windows, you can, I sent a table in the questions and answer channel. If you look through, most of you guys should just be able to use the command next to cmd.exe. You don't need to type the C colon slash whatever. It'll just be the name of virtual environment and then /scripts/activate.bat. So here, I'll type it in for you guys. So if you use the same name to create your virtual environment as me, you should be able to just use this one. You can probably copy paste this one and it should work. Once you have that typed out, you can press enter. And then it might be a little different Windows, but it should show that you're inside of a virtual environment right here on the left side. It might be in the middle. It depends. Is everyone good up to there? Okay, I'm going to continue on then. The next thing we do is now that we're inside our virtual environment, we can install the packages we need. So for today, I think we just need two packages. One is called Pygame, and then the other is called TKEnter. And these will kind of give us, each will kind of give us a different set of functions that we can use to make our graphics without having to make everything from scratch. To do this, we're going to use pip, which is like a package helper installer that helps us install packages in Python. So the command to install the first one, which is Pygame, is pip install Pygame. Make sure this is in the same window, the same terminal window that you use to both activate your what was it, your virtual environment. Once you have that typed out, you can press enter, and it should install Pygame for you. Yeah, it should say successfully install Pygame. If you're getting a warning like this is just telling you that you should probably update pip. If you want to, if you're getting this error, you can just solve it by writing pip install upgrade pip, and it'll just install a new version of pip for you. Okay, once we're there, we need to install tk-enter. Tk-enter also helps with graphics. For tk-enter, we're going to write pip install tk, and that should be good. Okay, once you successfully install tk or tk-enter and pygame, you should be good to go. So inside of that same folder, so I was in the FOT folder. You're going to create a new file in there. So here I'll make a new file and I'm going to save it right inside of the FOT file folder. That's where I install pip and that's where I installed pygame and tk-enter, and also where I made the virtual environments. So inside of here, I'm going to title it music player, and then I'll just write today's date, which is June 26, 2023. That should take you here. I'm just going to choose Python as my interpreter. It should automatically do it for you. I just like to double check. So now that we're here, is everyone good? Okay, I'm just gonna check through the chats. Okay, it looks like everything's good. If you have any questions, okay, someone's typing. I'll wait for a second. Wait for whoever is typing. No, this is like something kind of new, so it might be a little confusing at first, but once you do it a few times, you'll kind of get the hang of it. Uh, is there any questions, or I thought I saw someone typing for a second. Can I zoom in on the VS Code? Yes, I can. Let me lower this, and then this should be able to go with. Yeah, there you go. Is that better? Maybe a bit more. That more. Okay, I'm going to continue on. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to, once you guys have your files made, make sure it has a .py extension. Make sure you see this Python icon. If you don't, I'm pretty sure you can press Windows, Shift, and P. It should give you a screen like this. Press Python, select interpreter, click Python. It should automatically do it, but just in case you don't have a Python icon and you're having trouble, so we're going to use pygame, and we're going to say that by writing import pygame, and then we're going to, oops, I'm sorry. And after that, I'm going to write from pygame import mixer. Mixer is a library inside of pygame that allows us to basically do a lot of things with sound without having to make our own functions for dealing with sound. And then from tk-enter, I'm going to import star, which just means import. I actually don't need this, I don't think so. Import star, which means import everything, and then I'm going to import OS, which is just another library that provides some stuff for us. I'm going to click run, And what you should get is you should in your terminal you should get an out thing that says hello from the Pygame community. If you are getting an error, which is pretty common when you're dealing with Pygame, please let me know right now. I'm going to check the answer. If there are no questions, I'm going to continue on. So from here, we're going to make our first function. It's going to be, let's call it play song. And this is just going to play a song. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to just follow along for now. Now I can explain what the code is doing for now. Right, current song is equal to playlist.get active. And this is just, this is the function from the Pygame mixer, and it just lets us see which song is being played at the moment. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to have it print the current song, and then mixer, which is the thing we imported, the music.load, and it's going to load the current song. This just basically puts it in the like a list of songs. So like inputs it, so when you press play song, it'll be able to play the song using Pygame. And then we're going to write song status set play. And then we'll define these things a little later. And then we're going to say mixer.music.play, and that should be able to play our song. And then we'll, I guess, fix it up a little later. Now that we have kind of like an outline of what we'll be needing, I'm going to check the question and answer channel just 1 second. Okay, it looks like there are no questions so far. I'm going to create, using the TK enter thingy, I'm going to create a window, and I'm going to do root TK. And when I press run, it gives me a little window called, and it's title TK. I'm going to, okay, so if you guys want to see again, where'd it go? I'm not sure where. Okay, okay, I'm going to, after that, I'm going to retitle the window. So I'm going to say root.title, let's say FOT music player. Where's the run button? Invalid syntax. Here, give me 1 second. Not sure where I messed up. I'm going to comment this out for now. We'll just run this one for now. I'm not sure I'm getting an invalid syntax. Give me 1 moment, please. Okay, it looks like I was pressing the wrong button or something. Okay, I'm going to bring these back. This one should have a space. Okay, and then after we, I don't know why I'm can't even see it. Okay. Okay, after we have that, I'm going to, here, sorry, I keep pressing Shift Enter and it runs like a debugger or something. Okay, from there, I'm going to initialize the mixer first, which I probably should have done before I created the function, but it's fine. And then I'm going to set song status as a string variable. Should be song status equals string var. This just means that song status will always be a string, and it's another way of initializing a variable. And then for now, we're going to set song status to choosing. Are there any questions? Is everyone getting the little window? If not, we can go back. Lecture notes. Okay. It looks like everyone. In that case, I'm going to continue on. So we also need to declare what the playlist is, since we didn't do that before. For this one, you can just follow along. We're just going to inside of the TK enter window, we're going to make it. We're just kind of going to edit the little box. It's called a list box, and it's going to be inside of the root, which is the TK window we made. Select mode, single, BG, which is background color. We're going to set it to just do blue. Foreground, which is like the colors for everything that is not the background, we're going to set it for white for now. Oops. And these should all be strings. If you guys want to use like hex code, like different, like the numbers representations for colors, you can as well. Some colors are preset, like blue, white, and I think maybe green too. We're going to set the font to Arial 15, and then width to about 40. Keep getting an error from this one. I think I might just need to import Pygame again. Maybe that's the error. Is it working on your guys' side? Because it should be working. Oh, single also needs to be in all caps. There you go. And then Arial should be a string. Maybe those are errors I'm getting. If I run it from... It's not giving me the window. It should be getting a window, which is annoying. Okay, from there, I'm just going to continue on. It should work on your side. I think something is just happening with my computer. But let me know if it's not working on yours either. You're going to set playlist, grid. This is a way that it's a method, a little part inside of listbox that tkinter provides for us, and it just makes it a lot easier for us to create grids. So we're going to say column span. Oops, should look like this, equals 5. Save it. Not sure why it's not showing me the little window. Let me just double check. Let me know if it's working on your side or if you guys are stuck. No response. I'm just going to assume that everything is working on your side. After that, we're going to create a few more functions. We're going to create a pause song function. So for that one, I write pause song, and then for this, we're just oops, I keep pressing the wrong button. song status, and we're going to set it to, I'm so sorry, song status set to paused, and then we're also going to mixer.music pause, and this is also a function that is already built inside of the mixer function, the mixer library, the mixer function, or the variable, I think, from tkinter. Or actually, no, it's actually from Pygame, sorry. After we have that, we're going to also create a stop song function, and this should, I'm just going to camel case all of them. Song.status set stopped. Just following the pattern. And then I'm going to say mixer music dot I think stop. We also need to write a resume song because we have the pause song, right? So we're going to write resume song. Right, song status set resume. And then we also need to resume in the mixer music resume. I mean, not resume, I think it's unpause. So now we have all our basic functions to kind of get our music player working. From here, we need to tell our program where our music is. So inside of your FOT folder, you're going to have to right click and create a new folder. I have one here because I was testing it. You guys can just title it FOT playlist, and then you guys can add as much songs as you want. I'll just say like 1 or 2. If you guys go on like Google, you should be able to download a MP3 file. So if you guys go on Google, song MP3 download. If you guys have a song you like, you can just write that one instead. Going to search for MP3 music. Don't know any of these songs. Or maybe you guys know Taylor Swift, so we'll download the song. Make sure it's MP3. Hopefully. Okay, I'm just going to download one without too much storage. Hopefully this one isn't a scam. There are some songs. Okay. I'm going to drop a few songs you guys can it should download. Yeah. Okay, once you guys have a song downloaded, you should just be able to drag it in. Make sure it goes inside of the FOT playlist, like that. And make sure your playlist is also inside of the folder that you use to create the environment, and it should also be the same folder of your little program. So I have the music player Python program here, and I have the playlist here. So it's like right next to each other. So from there, I'm going to use OS. OS is a way for us to kind of work with different, I guess, like file directories inside of Python. So I'm going to write os.change directory. We're going to go inside of the this file we just made. I'm just going to say it should. So since I said it's called FOT underscore playlist, I'm just going to write that right here. And that should be good. And then from there, I'm going to write it should be songs equals os.ls list directory. And this is the function os that just lists everything inside of a current directory, and we're in FOT playlist, so songs will be every song inside of this playlist. And then for S, we're going to loop through each song in case you guys added more than one. All right, playlist dot insert and S. This should be lowercase. So it's just going to insert at the end. From there, we need to work on the more graphic side of things now that we have our basic functions in, and we also are able to access the playlist folder. So we're going to first create a button. So play button equals button. And this is, I believe this is just from TK Intern. We're going to say root. Inside the root window, we're going to have it say play. So this will be the play button. And then the command. So basically what happens when it's clicked, it'll be play song. And this should look the same as the play song function. Okay, it looks like there are a few. Okay, so if you guys can't find songs online, there are also a few in the questions and answer channel. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Please leave a message in the question and answer channel if you guys have any questions. We're going to, I guess, kind of edit the play button by play button.config. No equal sign actually. So the font is going to be Arial. Make sure you write it inside the quotation marks, and the size 20. BG, which is the background, we're going to set it to just blue. The foreground, we'll keep it white. And then we can also add padding, which is like little empty spaces. So basically just like as like a kind of like a little border inside of the button itself. So we're gonna write X. I'm sorry, I can't type. Pad X equals 7. This is just 7 pixels, and then pad Y is also 7. And then play button grid. We're gonna make put it inside of a grid, and it'll be in row equals 1, I believe, and then column equals 0. Okay, so we should have our play button built. We need to also make a pause button, stop button, and a resume button. So yeah, we'll do it. So it'll be pause button equals button. It's like the same thing for each of them. So if you want to try to cut corners and copy paste each of them and then edit them, you guys can as well, but I'll just go one by one. Pause song. We're also going to edit this one as well. It'll have, for this one, you can just copy this and paste it because we want all of our buttons to look the same. Here, give me 1 second. Like that. And then we're going to play, but instead of play button, it should say pause button. Pause button dot grid. Let's do row, I believe 1, and then column equals 1. So it's next to the play button. I'm going to check for any questions. Looks like you guys are all good. We're going to make the stop button now. Stop button is also a button. Set a root, and then text equals stop, and then command equals stop. So and these are just the functions that we built earlier. Should be up there. Like the play button, we're gonna have the same design, so you can just copy this one. Config. Yeah, and that should be good. All right, stop button, the grid. We're gonna put it into row 1 and then column 2. So it'll be a play button and then a pause button, stop button, and then a resume button, which is the last button we need to build. And we're gonna write resume button. It's also a button inside of root, which is a TK window we made earlier. Text equals resume, and then command will be resume song. Similarly, we're going to use the same design, so you can just write resume button and then just copy the rest in. Resume button dot grid. We're going to put this into keep in row 1, so they're all in the same x-axis. Y-axis, I believe, and then column equals 3. That should be good, and then we're going to put this inside of a main loop, so it keeps checking for the buttons. That should be everything, I believe. I don't know why my VS Code isn't showing me the little window, but it's not giving. Oh, here it is. Okay. So as you can see, it should give you a little window like this. I don't know if it's too small, but this is the song that I put in. Looks like we have a problem with the graphics. So if you guys can see, there's 4 little buttons here, but then since it's white on white or on really light gray, it's hard to see. Last time we can fix that real quick. So basically, when you are working with graphics, you're going to come across these errors where your code works, but the approach isn't the best. You could make a better design choice, and we're going to make one right now. So instead of having the white go on a light gray, it's gonna have no contrast, so you can't really see that this is a play, pause, stop, and resume button. If you squint closely, maybe you can see. So instead of having the letters in white, we're going to do we can just do blue instead. So inside of each of our buttons where it says foreground, we're going to change one and see if that does the job. And then I should be able to run this. Should give me a new window. Okay, yeah, so for the play button, I changed the foreground, which is, I said everything in front of the background to blue. And if I open the window again, yeah, so for this one, it changes to blue. All the other ones are white because we didn't change those. You can do all of them, but sometimes you might be doing the wrong thing. You don't want to change 5 things before testing out one thing. Just a little, I guess, coding tip in general. Now that we see it works, we can change all of these to blue. Or if you want to do black, you can also do black. We can do black for the, we can do a red for the stop song button. Maybe do black for resume. I'm gonna save this file just in case something happens. And press run. And yeah, so we have blue for the play button, blue for the pause button, and then red and then black. Another thing that you want to make sure when you're doing these things is when I have 4 buttons that do similar things, I want them to look pretty similar. So as you can see, the play button is lowercase and it kind of looks off. So I'm going to fix that by going to looking for where I initialize the play button, and I see it's here. And the text for this one is lowercase. So I'm going to fix that right now. And once we have that, it should all be working. And when I press play, it should give a little output here since that's the function we made. And I don't know if you guys can hear, but the music does play. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. The pause button does work well, so make sure you test and see that all of your buttons work. But that is the coding lesson or graphic lesson for today. You guys probably have a few questions, I'm guessing, unless everything is working well. Um, yeah, please send me a message in the questions and answer channel. Yeah, and if you guys were stuck, we just followed through the guide that uh, was just posted inside the questions and answer channel. So you guys can always look back in there or ask me a question. You guys don't have any questions? That's it from me today. Yeah, and then I think Justin will go over on problem packet 4. So yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Hello everyone, Justin. I'll just be going over the problem that you guys did over the weekend. Okie dokie. So, first question, which of the following is false? One, a try statement can have one or more except clauses, or a try statement can have a finally clause without. Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me well? Or am I like a little. Okay. Which is the following is false? One, a try statement can have one or more except clauses. Two, a try statement can have a finally clause without an except clause. Three, a try statement can have a finally clause and an except clause. And four, a try statement can have one or more finally clauses. And the false one is the last one. A try statement cannot have one or more finally clauses. So that's because each try statement should be associated with at most one finally block, so you can't have two or three finally clauses. Okay. Question 2. Which type of exception will be raised if we are trying to call a method on the inappropriate object? Either index error, type error, attribute error, or none of these. And it's attribute error. So explanation just says that whenever we try to access a method on an object and the class that we're trying to call a method on doesn't have that method, then attribute error is the one that we're going to get. So attribute error is the error that we get in this case. And it just shows a little example here too. Okay, question 3. Consider the code. Which exception will be raised? And it's either attribute error, EOFE error, system error, or syntax error. In this case, it's attribute error. So it's because, kind of like how we mentioned in question 2, we're trying to access a method that isn't in the object that we're trying to basically call the method from, which in this case would be f. So f would be the file, but we can't have read all on a file object, so that's why we get the attribute error. Consider the code. So what will be the result? It's either 1, 2, prints both 1 and 2, or an error because more than one return statement is not allowed. And the result would be 2 because it's in a finally statement, and this has priority over the try statement, basically. Number 5, which of the following are true? 1, a try block can have any number of except blocks. A try block should be associated with, at most, one finally block. A try block should be associated with, at most, one else block. And it says all the above. Question 6. The base class for all exceptions in Python is exception base, base exception, exception, or EOF error. And in this case, the exception would be base exception. Question 7. Which of the following is true about else blocks? Else block will be executed if there is no exception in try block. Without writing except blocks, we cannot write else blocks. For the same try block, we can write at most one else block. And all of the above, which is the correct answer here. Oh. As again, if you have any questions, just leave them in the question chat. Question 8. Consider the following code, and what will be the results? We could have try except else finally, try else finally, try except finally, or try and finally. In this case, it would be try else finally. Because we're not getting an exception here, since it's just a regular print statement, so we just print it, else, and then the finally. Question 9. Consider the code, which is pretty similar to our last code, except there's another print statement with the 10 divided by 0 here. So in this case, it's either try except else finally, try else finally, try except finally, and try and finally. So this one is try except finally because we do the try, but then we try to divide 10 by 0, we get the exception, so we go to except, and then, as always, we get the finally. Question 10. Consider the code, which is pretty similar code. What is the result? So we could get try else except finally, try else finally, try except finally, or just an error. And we get an error here. Consider the code. We are required to add, we are required to add an exception handling code to handle the exception file not found error. Which of the following is appropriate code? I think that's just a spelling mistake. Which of the following is an appropriate code for this requirement? And out of these codes, it would be the first one, where it's basically f equals none, and then it tries opening the file, and it checks for the exception, and then it prints out the file does not exist. Else, then it would print out the reading of the file. And finally, it would just close it if there is no file. Question 12. So we have more code here. And what will be the results of this code? So we are trying to add A, B, C. And getting the result. And the result would be a type error because we cannot add a plus operator for int and string because we have two ints and a string. question 13. So we have this code here, and there's an error. Oh, okay, I can zoom in, of course. Let's see. That might be a bit much. Is this better? Well, question 13, we're considering this code, and it states here that when they're trying to execute this code, they're getting this error. And so which code should we be using to fix this said error? So we have total plus equals string price, total plus equals int price, total plus equals float price, and total equals total plus price. And the correct answer is total plus equals float price. Because we have a float here, we have not a float here, and we just want to convert all of them into floats, which is why we cast to float here. Question 14. So once again, we have code, but we keep getting an error here. So, using which of the following code segments can we fix this problem? So we have total plus equals string price, total plus equals int price, total plus equals float price, and total equals total plus price. And both total plus equals int price and total plus equals float price are correct answers here, and you need both of them. And that's because we have the integer, not integer, integer. We want to convert them all into integers or floats, because in this case, a float would also work. It's mainly that it needs to be a number. Question 15. We have this code, and once again, we are getting an error in here. So, which of the following code segments can we use to fix this error? And the answer is that all of these would correctly address the error and fix the error, because it would stay inside the bounds of courses, so it doesn't go past basically the limits of the dictionary. Question 16. So we have this code here, and what will happen when we run this code? So we will either get a name error when we run it, an attribute error when we run it, an indentation error, or it would just print out 200. And the correct answer would be a name error, because as you can see, this is a capital B when the arguments of this function are only a lowercase b and a w. So there's no capital B here. Question 17. Consider the following code. So it basically is giving us several calls of the function, and they're asking which one of these would give us an error. And only this last one would give us an error with 0 and 10, because in this case, we would be dividing by 0, because total would equal 0, and anything divided by 0 would get a math error in Python. Question 18. Consider this code. So if we input here 10, 20, 30, and 40, what would be the result? We either have 25, 25.0 is a float, name error when we run it, or a type error. And this is basically because the code is trying to add integers and strings when it shouldn't be. Question 19, we have this code again. A equals 10, b equals 0, that we're trying to divide it. And so this is incomplete, so which of the following except block prints would, well, which of the following except blocks would print the name of the exception, which comes out when we try to run this program. So both the first one and the second one get basically the name of the error as E. So we can either do this by doing e.class with 2 underscores dot name. Actually, these are double underscores, yeah. And then, or we could do type, cast E to type, or get the type of E dot name. Question 20. Which of the following is a valid way of creating our own custom exception? We have class my exception, class my exception parentheses class my exception with an exception as a parameter, pass. And so this third one would be the correct form for making your own exception. So question 21, we have this code where we input a first number and input another number, and it tries to divide them. So it's asking which of the following is valid except which of the following is a valid except block that handles both the zero division error and value error. And so the second one is correct with the zero division error, comma, value error, and then it says as E. So we have question 22. We have another code where we import OS and we get a function called getData. Sorry. So it wants us to basically check off which of the statements are correct about the code, and they're the following. This function returns the first line of the file if it is available. This function returns none if the file does not exist. This function returns total data present in the file, and this function returns the last line of the file. And the correct ones are the first two. The function returns the first line of the file if it is available, and the function returns none if there is no file. Question 23. We're writing a Python program for the following requirements, where each line of the file must be read and printed. If the blank line is encountered, it must be ignored. When all lines have been read, the file must be closed. So here's a code that's trying to fill out these requirements. And what should we be changing in the code to meet all of the requirements? So the correct one out of all of these would be the first one, where we replace xxx with line not equals empty. And then YYY should be replaced with line does not equal new line. It's just the \n. Question 24. You develop a Python application for your school. You need to read and write data to a text file. If the file does not exist, it must be created. If the file has the content must be removed. Which code do we have to use? So we have open abc.txt, R, open abc.txt, R plus, open abc.txt, W plus, open abc.txt, W. And the correct one would be the third one, abc.txt, W plus. So R wouldn't create a new file if it doesn't exist, but in the case of W, if there isn't a file, then it would create it. Question 25. So we're making a function that reads a data file, and it prints each line of that file. So we have the following code. So this code is trying to read the file even if the file doesn't exist. So we need to fix that. So they're asking which lines here have problems with their indentation, the spacing. So either be the first 3 lines inside the function, last 3 lines inside the function, last 2 lines inside the function, or there's no problem. And the correct answer is the last 3 lines inside the function. These. Question 26. So we have this code, and in this case we have an in.txt file, but we don't have an out.txt file. So which of the following is true about this code? So either this program will copy data from in.txt to out.txt, so basically it just works without any issues. The code runs, but it generates a logical error. The code will generate a runtime error, or the code will generate a syntax error. And the correct answer is the first one, that the program will work and it will copy data from in.txt to out.txt. Since we have the W plus on the open file thing, that would basically create a file even if there is no file. Well, basically when there is no file, right? So question 27. So we have a file, abc.txt, with this inside of it. And so we have this Python code, test.py. Sorry. So we have values equals 0. We try opening the file. And so it wants us to figure out what the result of the program is. And it will either be unable to open the file, return 100 as an integer, it'll return 100 as a float, or it'll return 10 as a float. And the correct answer is that it'll return 100 as a float, because it'll read the values inside this, and it converts it to float here, and it'll also sum up the values. So we get 10, 20, 30, 40, and that's 100. So we have this abc.txt file, and inside it there's a bunch of text. I think this is Latin actually. So we have this Python code that is going to read the total data and console. So which code should we insert at line 1 over here to meet the given requirements? It's either data equals f.read, data equals f.readLine, data equals f.readLines, or data equals f.load. And that would be data equals f.read. So if we want to write the text, Python certification to a text file abc.txt, which of the following would do these, basically complete the requirements. So we have abc.txt, comma b, abc.txt, comma r, just abc.txt, or abc.txt w. And if we're writing, we need to have it in the W mode, which is why the last one is the correct answer. Question 30. Consider the data present in the file abc.txt. Yurgasoft 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, Microsoft 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Which of the following is valid code to read total data from the file? So by default, so we either have abc.txt and txt in R mode, abc.txt, abc.txt w, or abc.txt. And it would be f.readLine. And in the first one, there is no as, which you need, which is why the second one is correct, because when we open files, it's on read mode by default, and all the other syntax is correct. Question 31. Assume that we are writing a Python code for some voting application. You need to open the file voterslist.txt and add new voter info and print total data to the console. So if we want to do this, we have this code here. Which line should be inserted at line -1 over here. So either f.seek 0, f.flush, f.begin, or f.close. And in this case, it would be the first one, f.seek with 0 as an argument. Question 32. We're making a function that manipulates number. The function has the following requirements. A float is passed to the function. The function must take the absolute value of the float, and any decimal points after the integer must be removed. Which two math functions should be used to basically accomplish this? So math.free_frexp, math.floor, math.fabs, math.fmod, or math.ceil. Math.floorx and math.fabs would be the correct ones to use. Question 33. You are writing an application that uses the sqrt function. Program must reference the function using the name sq. So which of the following statements will we need to use? So we have import math.sqrt as sq, import sqrt from math as sq, from math, import sqrt as sq, or from math.sqrt as sq. And the correct syntax for this would be from math import sqrt as sq, which is why the third one is correct. So question 34, we have another piece of code, and so it wants us to figure out what's the result of the code. And the correct result would be 5 3s, all of them in as strings basically. So that would be the first one. Question 35. So we're writing code that generates a random integer with a minimum value of 5 and a maximum value of 11. So which of the following two functions will we need to use to accomplish this? We have random.randint5, 12, random.randint5, 11, random.randrange5, 12, 1, or random.randrange5, 11, 1. The correct ones would be the second and third options. These two. So question 36, more code. It wants us to know which of the following will print some random value from this list of fruits. So we have print random.samplefruits, print random.samplefruits, 3, and 0 in brackets, print random.choicefruits, or print random.choicefruits and 0 in brackets. And the correct syntax for these would be the middle two again. Print random.samplefruits, 3, and 0 in brackets, and print random.choice and fruits in parentheses. Question 37. We are developing an application for the client requirements. As part of that, we have to create a list of 7 random integers, and the integers have to be between 1 and 7 inclusive. So which of the following code should be used? So the correct one would be the first one, because we're creating random integers from 1 to 7 inclusive, and we're doing it 7 times for I in range 1, 8. Question 38, we have this code. Again, we have the list of fruits, and we want to know which of the following are potential outputs, because there's randomness and you can have multiple different outputs. So it's app, ma, or ma or So the possible outputs would be the first three. Yeah. Anyways, question 39. So we're making a mathematical function to find the area for a given circle. So we have r as the radius, and area would be pi times r to the power of 2. So we want to know which of the following would be a valid function for this requirement. Basically like an alternate way of doing it. And the correct answer would be this one, where we have math.pi times math.pow, which is the same thing as the double asterisk signs, the double stars. So it's 2 to the power of 2, which is the circle area function. So this one would be correct, the third one. And then the last one. So we have this Python code, and which is true about, which of the following is true about this code. So it will print a random int value from 0 to 5, it will print a random int value from 1 to 5, it will print a random int value from 0 to 5, or it will print a random int value from 0 to 4. And the correct answer would be that it would print a random int value from 0 to 4. Okay, and that was basically the whole problem packet. If you guys haven't, leave them in the question and answer channel. But other than that, if you do have no questions, then I'll have to pass it over to Taeyun, who's going to go over some HackerRank problems. But if you have any questions, use this time to leave them in the question and answer chat. So can you repeat on math X, math F ABS, and math 4 and math F? So let's see if I can find the questions that use these. So this question 32, it goes over math.free F, let's see. It actually goes over all of these, all of the ones that you mentioned, but let's see. So question 32, we have a float, and we want to take the absolute value of the float. So there's two ways we can do this. Math.fabs basically would take the absolute value of the float. So it says here, returns the absolute value of x. So, and this is for floats. And the floor x would basically turn the float into an integer, and what floor does is it just rounds down no matter what, so it would pretty much just remove the decimal points after the float. So if we had like 1.5, then math.floor 1.5 would be 1, because it would just remove the decimals. Yeah. And for Math F mod. The other ones, let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull up the W3 schools articles on these two. So basically, math F mod. Okay, I'm just gonna briefly go over these last two since I wasn't really able to cover them. But math.free expression, FREXP. Basically gets the mantissa and the exponent of a specified number as a pair. So this is kind of like a statistics thing. Basically, you just get the m times 2 to the power of natural log. And f mod would just get the modulus of x and y. So basically the remainder of when you divide it. And that's it for math.frexp, math fabs, math floor, and math fmod. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it on to Taeyeon, who's gonna go over some hackering problems.
Hi everyone. So we're going to go over some hacker rank problems. I'm going to read the first problem to All right. So I'm going to read the problem and I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to answer the problem or to solve the problem on your own. Then I'll go over the answer and then we'll move on to the next problem if we have time. A set is an unordered collection of elements without duplicate entries. When printed, iterated, or converted into a sequence, its elements will appear in an arbitrary order. And here they give you some examples. Can you guys see this, or do you want me to change to like a white background, or do you want me to zoom in? Okay, I'll continue for now, but if it's hard to see these examples or any of the text, just let me know and I'll try to change the background or try to zoom in. But they give you some examples here. If you do print set, empty set, then it's going to return that. And yeah, they just give you a list of examples to show you how it works. Basically, sets are used for membership testing and eliminating duplicate entries. Task. Now let's use our knowledge of sets and help Mickey. Miss Gabriel Williams is a botany professor at District College. One day, she asked her student Mickey to compute the average of all the plants with distinct heights in her greenhouse. formula used is average equals sum of distinct heights divided by the total number of distinct heights. Function description. Complete the average function in the editor below. Average has the following parameters. Int array, an array of integers. And it should return a float, and the resulting float value should be rounded to 3 places after the decimal. Input format. The first line contains the integer n, the size of array, or of the array. The second line contains the n space-separated integers, array of index I. Constraints. 0 is less than, 0 or n is greater than 0 and less than or equal to 100. And they give us a sample input here. So, for example, here, the n value would be considered 10, and values of the array would be 161, 182, and so on at the bottom here. And yeah, sample output should be 169.375, and they explain why that's the answer. Here, the set is the set containing the distinct heights. Using the sum and len functions, we can compute the average. So they kind of give you a hint here as to how to solve the problem. And average equals 1,355 divided by 8 equals 169.375. And make sure that you only round up to 3 places after the decimal, as they show in the example. So I'm not exactly sure how to show all of this text at once, but I guess I'll try giving you guys the link to this one. Oh wait, you guys already have the link. Okay, yeah, I'll give you guys 5 minutes starting from now to try and solve the problem, and then I'll go over the answer. Okay, time is up. I'll be going over the answer to this problem. So, I mentioned that they sort of give you a hint at the bottom. So it says using the sum and len functions, you can compute the average. So what we can do for this problem is we can first take the array, and since we have to get rid of the duplicates, we let's call this set new heights, and then we can turn the array into a set by using the method or the constructor, and then on the next line we can simply do exactly what they tell us at the bottom and do say average heights. We can use a sum function to find sum of all the distinct heights in the array or the set, and then we can divide it by the length or the number of distinct plants. And then the last thing we have to do is return. And since they want us to round to 3 places after the decimal point, we're going to use the round method, and we're going to do average height, comma 3, and the 3 indicates that it's going to round to 3 places after the decimal. So that should work. Yeah. We're going to move on to the next one. Okay, we're going to move on to the next problem. So I'm going to read the problem, and for this one, I'm going to start explaining right away. So for this one, today we're learning about a new data type, sets concept. If the inputs are given on one line separated by a character, a delimiter, use split to get the separate values in the form of a list. The delimiter is a space ASCII 32 by default. To specify that comma is the delimiter, use string.split comma for this challenge, and in general on HackerRank, space will be the delimiter. Usage, and they give you an example here. So if the list values are all integer types, use the map method to convert all the strings to integers. And they give you an example of that. Sets are an unordered collection of unique values. A single set contains values of any immutable data type. And they give you an example of creating some sets, modifying sets using the add function, and also modifying sets by using the update function, removing items. Both the discard and remove functions take a single value as an argument and removes that value from the set. If that value is not present, discard does nothing, but remove will raise a key error exception. So we have two ways of removing items from sets. Common set operations using union, intersection, and difference functions. So the union takes values that exist in A or B, which means it's pretty much going to add the two sets together and remove any duplicates. The intersection method will take values that exist in both A and B. And the difference is kind of the opposite of the intersection method. So it's going to take values that exist in A but not in B. The union and intersection functions are symmetric methods, which basically means that switching A and B will basically do the same. These other built-in data structures in Python are also useful. Task: given two sets of integers m and n, print their symmetric difference in ascending order. The term symmetric difference indicates those values that exist in either m or n, but do not exist in both. Okay. Input format: the first line of input contains an integer m. The second line contains m space-separated integers. The third line contains an integer n. The fourth line contains n space-separated integers. Output format: output the symmetric difference integers in ascending order, one per line. So they give you an example here. So in this case, the value n would be 4, and the second line would contain the 4 integers separated by spaces. The second number here would be n, and this also gives you n space-separated integers. And since in this case, the numbers 5, 9, 11, and 12 do not exist in both sets, they're going to be outputted in increasing order, with each number being output or printed on a separate line. So the way we're going to approach this one is, so they gave us a list of methods that we can use. So first, we're going to take the m value that they give us, which is going to be like the first line here, first line of input, stored in the variable called m. We're going to take our second line of input and we're going to turn it. So I'll break down what I did here. So first, we take the input and then we split the input line, which for example would be this line here. We take that line and we use a split method to make sure that we separate the integers by their space. And then we turn them all into an integer so that we don't just have like a bunch of string numbers. And then lastly, we turn it into a set so that we can perform some operations on them. We're pretty much going to do the exact same thing. So the third line contains the variable n. So we're going to do that. Same way we did it on the first line. And for this fourth line, or the second set of numbers, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to use a split method to split the line of integers that they give us by the space. And then we're going to turn it into integers. And then we turn that into a set. So now that we have all the input that they give us, we're now gonna use the actual operations that they told us about up here. So next, we have the difference method. So if you recall this method that they talked about, it gives you the values that exist in A but don't exist in B. So in this case, in this example that they give you at the bottom here, this set A diff would store, let's see, it would store 5 and 9. Since 5 and 9 exist in A but don't exist in B. Next, we're going to do the same exact thing, but the other way around. So set B diff equals set A dot difference set A. And what this is going to do is the exact same thing as with the previous line, except the other way around. So here, set B difference would store 11 and 12, since set B contains the integers 11 and 12, but set A does not. And notice how both of these do not store 2 and 4 because they're actually intersections. So both 2 and 4 exist in both A and B. And after, what we're going to do is we're going to use a for loop to now print all of these numbers in increasing order. So for I in, and we're going to use the sorted method to make sure that the numbers are in increasing order. And we're going to use the union method. And what that's going to do is it's going to combine these two numbers into one set so that we can iterate through them and print them line by line. Yeah, and that should give us the answer. Oh, right. Oh, whoops. Yeah. So I'll leave this code up for like a minute longer. Okay, does anyone have any questions for this one or any of the previous problems that we worked on? Okay, that case, we don't have enough time to start another problem. So we're gonna wrap up today's class. I'm gonna, oh, okay, I guess I'll wrap up the class since David's not here. But yeah. that's it for today's class. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye.